Welcome back to the Operation Freedom platform. Today we have a special edition of Operation Freedom Briefings. As you know, we have the subscription side to DaveJana.com, and we have a show called the Insider Insight Show. I recently had two friends of mine as the guests, Binney and Kirk Wiebe. They are legends in the world of the National Security Agency and in surveillance platforms. They became whistleblowers in 2001. And the whistle they blew very loudly at the time, and still does do to this day, that NSA platforms were being illegally used to monitor American citizens, phone calls, emails, internet activities, financial transactions. And they paid a heavy price for their honesty. Well, they speak about that in this interview. But they also address several other issues, and this is why I was asked to make this subscription platform presentation available to the general public because of the national security issues that are discussed that are of importance to every American. There are several take-home points out of what Bill and Kirk are going to present in this interview. One is that the whole Russian hack narrative was in fact as Bill put it, a, quote, lie, end quote. It wasn't a hack. It was a downloaded event. And then the information transferred to Julian Assange for publication on the WikiLeaks platform. Two, there is talk that, well, there's all this illegal activity occurring on the National Security Agency platforms. True. No doubt about that. No argument from here. As I said, Bill and Kirk have been screaming from the mountaintop for 18 years about that. But there's also a deeper, more sinister side to the surveillance platforms, and that is the parallel platforms that don't have the same reporting systems associated with them that occurs internally within the NSA platform. It's been said by many people, not just a few, many people, that these parallel platforms don't exist, that they're a fraud, that this is all conspiracy theory. Well, that's what the deep state would like you to think, that it's conspiracy theory, that parallel platforms don't exist. See, the benefit of a parallel platform, as Bill and Kirk will point out, is that the internal reporting system that's in the NSA platform is not in these parallel platforms, so that these government creatures, criminals, can do tremendous amount of deep surveillance, phone calls, emails, internet activities, financial transactions, to be used for bribery, for blackmail, for you name it. And there's no reporting systems within those parallel systems. Bill and Kirk come forward and they talk about how these parallel platforms can be used for good, but they can also be used for illegal activity, illegal surveillance. They address that. Prior to Bill and Kirk coming out and speaking about it, in this interview, they also speak about how they, as private contractors, had worked in parallel platform structures. Up until them coming forward, there was only one person who had come forward and has been a lightning rod for the issue and has been destroyed for coming forward and speaking about it. It's a guy by the name of Dennis Montgomery. He's been characterized many different ways. I think there are people out there saying he's a drunk, he's an alcoholic, he's a gambler, he's bankrupt. Now, Dennis Montgomery, actually, I had, through sources, been in touch with him, and he says, well, one of my partners gambled a fair amount. He goes, I didn't get into financial troubles gambling. I haven't gambled in 11 years. Usually the times I went to a casino with my family, because when I worked for the CIA, they told me the safest place for me and my family to be because of the 24-hour surveillance with their camera systems was in a casino. I've heard that from other people as well, not just Dennis Montgomery. He said, I did file bankruptcy once, not because of gambling, because I had racked up such high legal bills having to deal with the government. Plus, he said they never paid me for my intellectual property. Kind of starved me out. As far as drinking, he said, I have a drink on my birthday, because maybe if, total, I believe he told me was 15 times, but not drunk. This is what they try to do. They try to dirty up your reputation, soil you, so that you're not believed, that you're not credible. This is exactly what they also tried to do to Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, to dirty them up. Actually, after Kirk and Bill became whistleblowers in 2001, Robert Mueller, who was a director of the FBI, he had the FBI tear down their doors. At one point, Bill was coming out of the shower and he came in contact with an FBI agent and had a gun to his head. What had Bill done? He just told the truth. That our government was using a NSA platform to illegally surveil people. See, when it all comes down to it, they try to dirty you up. Bill and Kirk take a look at the Dennis Montgomery information and what Dennis Montgomery has said and what others have said about him. And they address that as well. I hope you find this interview of value, and I hope you'll network it, because the more it gets networked, the sooner the deep state comes tumbling down. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here today. Until next time, dream big and dare to fail. Hi, I'm Dr. Dave Janda. Welcome back to our Insider Insight Show. I am honored to have with me two legends, and that's not an overstatement. They are legends, Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe. I'm honored to call them my friends. I don't know how they feel about Dave Janda being their friend, because Dave keeps them up at night a lot. In fact, both of them, they look actually pretty chipper, but I bugged the living daylights out of both of them last night till past midnight. And they are incredibly generous people and two of the nicest people I've ever come in contact with in my life. And I'm old, and I've come in contact with a lot of people who actually have not been very nice to me, many people, but Bill and Kirk are incredibly gracious and the nicest people on the face of the earth. Now, I want to give you a little background on Bill and Kirk to set the stage. Because when I make the statement that I know of two people that have more expertise in surveillance systems in the world, that is not an overstatement. Here are their backgrounds. Bill Binney is a former highly placed intelligence official with the United States National Security Agency. Bill turned whistleblower, paid a huge price, and resigned on October 31st, 2001, after more than 30 years with the agency. He was a high-profile critic of his former employers during the George W. Bush administration. Bill continued to speak out during Barack Obama's presidency about the NSA's data collection policies, and continues to give interviews regarding his experiences and his views on interception of communication of American citizens by governmental agencies. Bill was a Russian specialist and worked in the operations side of intelligence, starting as an analyst and ending as technical director prior to becoming a geopolitical world technical director. In the 1990s, he co-founded a unit on automating signals intelligence with NSA research chief Dr. John Taggart. Bill's NSA career culminated as the technical leader for intelligence in 2001. Having expertise in intelligence analysis, traffic analysis, systems analysis, knowledge management, and mathematics, including set theory, number theory, and probability, Bill Binney has been described as one of the best analysts in NSA history. Now to Kirk. My mind, I got Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig here. I mean it. Kirk Wiebe is a retired National Security Agency whistleblower who worked at the agency for over 32 years. During his tenure there, Kirk received the Director CIA's Meritorious Unit Award and the NSA's Meritorious Civilian Service Award, that agency's second highest distinction for work against foreign strategic weapons systems. Kirk Wiebe, together with colleagues Bill Binney, Diane Rourke, and Ed Loomis, blew the whistle on NSA mismanagement and waste of billions of dollars in a complaint to the Department of Defense Inspector General. You can imagine how well that went over. Unable to stay at the NSA any longer in good conscience, Kirk, along with colleagues Bill Binney and Ed Loomis, retired in October 2001. Since retiring, Kirk has made several key public disclosures regarding NSA's massive surveillance program, subverting the U.S. Constitution. It is my honor to introduce my friends Bill, Binney, and Kirk Wiebe. Bill and Kirk, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, let's go right at it, guys. Hard and fast. That's how we work.
All right.
Mueller, his report. He just had a encore performance, his 10-minute, he was kind of sweating, looked kind of nervous, his 10-minute podium presentation. I'm not testifying, but let me tell you what's going on here. He started off his 10-minute presentation with the fact that this, I believe, false narrative that the Russians hacked into computer systems at the DNC, and it set off this cavalcade of situations where he had to investigate about the Trump colluding with the Russians about this hack. My question to both of you, am I wrong when I say that that's a false narrative, that in fact it was not a hack, that the information that was eventually obtained by WikiLeaks and published were not from a hack event, but from a leak, an internal leak event? Bill and Kirk.
Yes. In fact, but I don't call it a false. I call it a lie.
Okay.
Basic lie. Yes, they're making that lie up, and we can forensically prove that the published DNC emails by WikiLeaks were downloaded to a physical device and transported prior to them posting it. So that's what we can prove, and I have an affidavit in a court of law in the Roger Stone case stating that, and I'm prepared to testify in court to that and show the proof to it there in court.
Kirk?
Yeah, I agree exactly with what Bill has just said. Either Mueller and his people are not as sharp as public authorities say they are, or the agencies are lying. And I think the latter is true.
Yep.
And they're lying because why?
They don't want sources and methods revealed. They don't want things revealed that could incriminate themselves, information that they have. You know, there's a whole cloud of dust and a mystery behind this question. Who, if they were downloaded, these emails were downloaded to a storage device,
yes.
Who did it?
Okay. Who do you believe did it?
How did they get over to the WikiLeaks? That involves names like Seth Rich, possibly.
So
people say that when
I had one other reason.
Fire ahead, Bill.
The other reason is Mueller and the Democrats wanted to keep this issue going to 2020 election. Use it as an argument in the 2020 election. So they had to find a reason to do that, and Mueller was a part of that, making that reason, and so they could continue it.
Well, it worked pretty well in the 2018 midterms, right?
Yeah.
They got the House back. Yeah.
That's right.
Yep.
Now, when you mention Seth Rich, people start outside that window in the People's Republic of Ann Arbor, where I live. You know, Dave, that's Seth Rich stuff. That's conspiracy theory. And the fact that Seth Rich would have downloaded that information and then gone it to Julian Assange is beyond conspiracy theory. It's lunacy. What do you guys feel about it? You're the experts.
Those people are dreaming. They're in a deluded state. The evidence we have basically comes from people like Kim.com, who said he assisted him in transferring data. Came from Julian Assange and the actions he took after the murder. He offered a $20,000 reward for information about it. And it also came from Craig Murray, another fellow who had said he met somebody on the campus of American University in Washington, D.C., who was a part of transferring data to WikiLeaks. He also had let's see, the other one was I lost the other. Was another one though, but Cy Hirsch.
Right.
And recording of Cy Hirsch's conversation, illicit recording, where he said the FBI had a report that said that they had examined Seth Rich's computer and it had contacts with WikiLeaks, where he was giving them samples of the data and asking for money for the rest of it.
And in fact, Bill, you and Kirk, you accumulated you brought together a team to analyze all this.
Yes,
looking at speeds of download, speeds of the conclusion, and this is frankly, Bill, and maybe I'm dense on this. I believe what you and Kirk and your team did is you would have saved our country millions of dollars and tremendous amount of wasted time if they would have looked at your analysis many months ago, because it proves without a shadow of a doubt that there is no way that there was a hack event. Am I wrong?
No, that's right. But Mueller, nor the House or Senate committees, judiciary committees, or intelligence meetings, none of those people have called on us to come in and testify to anything.
So Robert Mueller never called Bill Binney or Kirk Wiebe and say, "Hey, boys, I understand you got this rogue group of folks together, and you did some analysis, and, well, I need to look at this." No one ever contacted you.
No.
The only one that did was the CIA chief last year. Yeah. Called Bill.
And what happened there?
Pompeo.
Yeah. So So if I remember correctly, Bill, President Trump suggested to, when Pompeo was CIA director, hey, come on, talk to Bill Binney about this. And you went in and talked to him, right?
Yes, I did, yeah. But here's what Director Pompeo opened this conversation with. He said, the president told me that I should talk to you to get facts about Russiagate.
There you go, okay.
Now, wait, just think about that for a minute.
Right.
That means the president and Pompeo don't have any facts about Russiagate.
True.
Okay? So, and that's one of the reasons I told Director Pompeo that his agency and all the intelligence community agencies are lying to him and the president about this issue.
That went over well.
The hack or anything else, NSA has copies of those packets going around the web, and they trace route them too. So they know what's going on. They're just not telling them. Also, Cy Hirsch said the FBI had a report on it that said they knew who did it too. So, the other side has zero evidence, to show anything other than what was being implied by that local download and the move of data to a thumb drive to transport it to WikiLeaks.
Bill and Kirk, your information gets presented to the American public. Your study, your analysis. It makes the whole Mueller report, this whole 3 years of Russiagate collusion. It's one. You expose it as one huge goat rodeo.
It's a fabrication. And it was fabricated for specific reasons to try to to have a coup against the president.
Title 18 of U.S. law has something called sedition in it.
Yep.
We're witnessing sedition. We have been witnessing sedition. It was purposeful. It was organized, managed in every way. And that truth is about to come out.
And I would say, and I think you'll agree with this, I would also say that it's treason against the founding principles of our nation.
Absolutely.
Now, when the two of you came out in 2001, right now, guys, there is this, I don't know, there's folks talking about how NSA platforms have been illegally utilized by government officials to unmask individuals, to get information on individuals they shouldn't have been getting. And in 2019, folks are talking about this in 2019. But and tell me if I'm wrong on this. I've known you guys a long time. When you came out in 2001, 18 years ago, this is exactly what you were saying. Am I wrong?
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you guys got your lives turned inside out, right? Where Robert Mueller sent guys into your house, to put guns to you. I mean, Bill, weren't you walking out of the shower and some guy put a gun to your head?
Yeah.
Huh? Well,
yep.
How special is that?
I was threatening him.
Yeah. So my point is that there's this flurry, which is good. I mean, people are being patriotic by bringing this out. Hey, you know what? NSA platforms are being used by government officials, and they have been used by government officials, and and here's what they say. It goes all the way back to 2012. Guys, it goes all the way back to 2012. Are you kidding me? You guys were talking about this in 2001, right?
Exactly.
Actually, Kirk has a list of all the programs that go back to World War II.
Oh, okay. So this breaking news in 2019 is really old news.
Yeah, you're right.
That you guys paid a huge price for.
Yeah, Dave, stop and think a moment. The very reason the intelligence committees in Congress were put together was fallout from the fact that the U.S. government was spying on American citizens, including Senator Frank Church, Martin Luther King, Vietnam War protesters, and the list goes on. The very reason the government has a penchant for eavesdropping on its people, and it always has.
Yeah.
Now, guys, I want to now talk about something in parallel to what is happening and has been happening, as you have outlined, for decades with the NSA surveillance programs and their abuse. Okay? And that is, I have, and a number of people, investigative reporters, Mary Fanning, Alan Jones, a number of people have talked about that there are, as sinister as the abuse of the NSA platforms is, that there are parallel platforms that exist now that for surveillance that don't have the internal reporting systems that the NSA systems have in place.
That's right.
I have been told that I am not only wrong, but the discussion of parallel platforms are illegitimate, they're fraud, they don't exist, they never have been in place. Now, Bill and Kirk, I'm going to ask you this question. Have you ever participated in a program that was a parallel surveillance program to the existing NSA platform?
Yes, as subcontractors. In fact, the one we participated in was the one that actually made this country safe after 9/11. They took out, in a targeted way, very focused and disciplined. This was a very good job on the part of CIA. They took out that network worldwide. That's why we've been safe since 2001. That's the Al-Qaeda network, the whole thing.
So it was a parallel platform, not the NSA platform, a parallel platform that you worked on as a private contractor that led to the safety we have today. It was not the NSA platform.
Right.
So when people say these parallel platforms are non-existent, they don't exist, they're illegitimate, they're fraud, what do you say?
That's simply not the case, period.
Yeah, period.
Okay. So let's
I mean, even Jim Banford published some of the information that told you there was another parallel platform when CIA had one end of a link of phone call to Osama bin Laden, I think it was. This was before 9/11, and they were coming in asking NSA for the other end of the link, and NSA refused to give it to them. That's in some of his publications. So that's another program too.
Now let's discuss why these parallel platforms would exist. Okay.
Sure.
Bill, you recently did an interview on SGT Report, and it was fantastic. And in that interview, you were asked about a parallel platform called The Hammer and its existence and why you would have to have a parallel platform if you have this NSA platform in place that they were already using illegally. Why would they have to have a parallel platform? And what was your answer, Bill?
Well, I mean, the point is the use of the NSA system gets you documented. That is, there's a record then of you coming into the system to get data and coming out. That's in the network's logs. It's also, if you're doing unmasking, you have to do requests to do that. All of that gets documented. And so if you don't mind anybody knowing that you did that and look for information in that system, fine, you could do that. But if you want to hide it, you have to create your own separate system to collect data. And so if you want to keep out of the sight of any documentation of what you're doing, which fundamentally is what NSA doesn't like doing either. They don't like anybody knowing what they're doing with the data.
But they have to, because it's internally built in the system, correct?
Yeah, it's just automatic, most of it, yeah. But the network log is just automatic, so you can't hide that. Even if they internally try to hide what they're doing, it's still possible to get back to it by looking at the network log.
And because we have this parallel platform, it would, as bad as it is using the NSA platform to unmask people, to illegally surveil people, there still is footprint that's there of their activities. Yep. The reason why a parallel platform would exist is because there are no footprints.
That's right.
Okay. Now, I recently interviewed an individual who is a very patriotic individual on this platform. He and I asked him about these parallel platforms, and I relayed your interview on SGT report. But the bottom line is that when he said that you were wrong, Bill, about these parallel platforms and maybe even about the reporting system in the NSA, you would disagree with that or agree with that?
Well, yes. I would only point out that people in NSA didn't know what was going on in NSA either. They didn't know that the Stellar Wind program was running. These agencies are so compartmented, unless you know or have a need to know something, you aren't clued in at what's happening.
Right.
So, and that's true at CIA and all of the intelligence agencies. So, but, so it's not, he just wasn't exposed to what was going on. That's all.
Now, there have been 4 articles written about these parallel platforms. I sent them to you, written by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones. You've reviewed.
In fact, we have some firsthand information on that too, because we were asked by our PIOS detectives to look at some of the data 3-4 years ago, I think it was.
Okay.
So, and Kirk and Tom Drake and I looked at that data and could see, that obviously he was hacking in or capturing data from banks internally in the banks, the canceled checks, photographs of them.
Now, is that something you could do by just working the web, if you will, or do you have to have some type of surveillance program in order to do that?
Yeah, you either have to surveil the transfer of data between banks, or you have to hack into the bank to get it.
Okay. Now Montgomery has become the lightning rod on this. This Dennis Montgomery, who came up with this, or who worked on this Hammer platform. And there are folks that are doing work on this, have looked at this, and they say, we don't think the Hammer exists. We don't think Dennis Montgomery is legit. We believe he, the information he's provided, that he says he has is, forget it. So here's my question. When you go through those 4 articles written by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones, do you have a problem with what they wrote about or the evidence that they produced?
No. I mean, even what we saw.
So here's my question: If it's a fraud, in the articles, and there's a lot of information, but in the articles they said that Dennis Montgomery presented information to the FBI in Florida on August 19th, 2015, and he presented 47 hard drives under video surveillance, they videoed him, and under oath. Okay?
Yep.
Now, here's my question. If he presented, and they asked him, what are you giving us? What's here? And if he presented information to them that was false, this is what's in it, but it's not there, would they not be able to charge him with perjury?
Yes, lying to the FBI is a felony.
But they never did that.
Nope.
Okay. And when they first did that in August 19th, 2015, he had limited immunity, right?
Yep.
They then reviewed the information and they brought him to D.C. at the end of November, beginning of December 2015, that same year, and they granted him full immunity. Now, if he had presented bogus information to them, what are the chances that they would have first given him limited immunity, not charged him with perjury, and then given him full immunity?
I'm the mathematician. Random probability is roughly 0.
Kirk?
Yeah, I agree. 0 chance.
Okay. And then so then we have his security clearance issue, because it's been said that Dennis Montgomery never had a security clearance. And it's also been said that Dennis Montgomery lost his security clearance in 2004. Now, I have a contact who got information provided to me from Dennis Montgomery about his security status around all through this, right? And he had a little note with it that I sent to you folks late last night. And here's what he said. I'm trying to bring to light into darkness, and here come the attacks again. Okay. I didn't lose my clearance in 2004. In 2008, the Nevada Federal Court and the Department of Justice ordered me to D.C. to meet with to brief the Department of Defense and CIA in the highest form of SCIF, the SCIF being a sensitive compartmented information facility, right? The Department of Justice was not allowed to be present at the facility. They did not have high enough clearance or had been read into an SAP program, yet he was there. Okay? He sent his Fort Washington badge, and these are coins he also sent that he was pictures that he was given in SAP programs I worked in with the CIA and the Secretary of the Air Force. When I handed my security documents to Judge Lamberth as far back as 2014, he left the room and called someone to see my top secret SCI status was still active, which it was. Judge Lamberth wouldn't hear my statement before he knew my top secret SCI clearance status, which he ended up hearing. Okay. My question to you is, when you review those documents, Bill and Kirk, and I also sent you some other one other document that I'm going to discuss in a minute. Do you believe that he never had a security clearance?
No. All that paperwork looks legitimate to me. So.
And that he had his security clearance from what I sent, and I had in 2003, 2004, 2005. So the statement that he lost his security clearance in 2004, would you deem to be accurate or false?
False.
No, I guess whoever said it just didn't have the information. That's all.
And where's the evidence of it?
Now, I also sent you another document signed by John Negroponte. And that was a document that was the state secret privilege that was, provided to Dennis Montgomery?
It was actually invoked.
Invoked. Okay. Now, educate all of us on the state secret privilege and what that means.
Well, it simply says that any individual possessing information that the government believes would pose a serious or grave threat to the national security can be put under wraps. In other words, ordered to remain quiet about any of that information to protect national security.
So if Dennis Montgomery had been working on this parallel platform, of which both of you have documented parallel platforms exist.
Absolutely.
Okay. If Dennis Montgomery... So wait a minute. If I said, hey, Bill and Kurt, I'm your buddy Dave. You guys worked on this parallel platform. Give me some stuff off of that parallel platform. If you did that, what would happen?
We wouldn't have the data.
We'd be in jail.
Well, you wouldn't provide me the data. You wouldn't provide me the data, because if you did, you would go to jail, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So now Dennis Montgomery is worked on this parallel platform, Hammer, that was documented in Vault 7 of the CIA WikiLeaks downloads. Is that correct?
Yep.
Because
Yes.
it's been said that the hammer was not, HAMR, was not mentioned in Vault 7 CIA download documents from WikiLeaks. It was mentioned, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, if Dennis Montgomery, who worked on this parallel platform, I'm going to ask him the same question I asked you. Dennis, you worked on this Hammer platform. Give me some stuff from the Hammer to show me that it's legit. I need to document that the Hammer's legit. If he sent me that, just as if you sent me that, he would be going to jail, right? And I probably would be going to jail too, right?
You're not.
What? Is that
Yeah.
correct? Bill, and do you agree with that, Bill?
Yeah.
You never got
Yep.
shit for him.
Okay. So the state secret privilege that was invoked is the word you use, Kirk, invoked on Dennis Montgomery in 2006, and then that's under Bush, right? And
Yeah.
then was renewed under Obama, would prevent him from handing over information to Dave Janda or a reporter or a friend or anyone, because if he did, it would be a huge penalty, in a criminal penalty.
Yeah, it would be equivalent to the same threat that Snowden lives under. If he were to return to the U.S., they'd put him in handcuffs and haul him off and put him through the legal system.
Now, there are people that claim that Dennis Montgomery never received a state secret privilege. You have reviewed that document. Is that a false document?
No, it is not. And that's a publicly accessible document, as most court cases are, because this involved Dennis's relationship to his company that he worked for and the argument about who owned the intellectual property. And the IP touched on U.S. classified programs, and that required Negroponte to step in and certify to the court that Dennis knew too much to be revealed.
Now,
In a court of
many
law.
people have said that for Dennis Montgomery to turn over these 47 hard drives in Florida, which was documented on videotape, he was under oath, they said he couldn't have done that because if he did, he would have been arrested right then and there for turning over government hardware to them, because he would have stolen it to give it back to them. What do you say to that?
Well, I just think that's false. That's all.
Well, he was a private contractor, right?
Yeah. Right.
That was
So,
that was his equipment.
Actually, we would call that documentation of fulfilling the contract.
There you go.
That's right. Yeah.
So to those people that say he should have been thrown in jail right then and there for turning this over to them, you don't believe that. You
that's
believe that's
evidence
a
of a
false
crime.
You believe that's a false argument.
It's evidence of a crime. Turning it over means the FBI gets the evidence of a crime.
That's right.
They're getting evidence of a crime.
Yeah.
Right. So why would he be thrown in jail for doing that?
He wouldn't.
Okay.
Only because the Department of Just Us wanted to do that. Okay.
Yes.
And Montgomery's not part of the Just Us department.
That's a good point. Now, here's the other question. On the fourth article that Mary Fanning and Alan Jones wrote, they state that James Baker, who is the former general counsel of the FBI, he was testifying under oath on October 3rd, 2018 to Congress. And in that first if you will, interview, testimony, he was asked, are you aware of the Obama administration illegally surveilling Trump or American citizens? And his answer was no. And 2 weeks later, he had another he was asked to testify for a second part of his testimony. This would be February 18th, 2018, and I have 2018, and I have the transcript here. Now, let me just go through this. He starts to talk to Jim Jordan, okay? And Jim Jordan, they introduce it, and he goes, okay, first of all, this is Baker. If I can just say at some point in time, there's something I remembered from last time I'd like to that I didn't remember when we were sitting here together. Sounds like, okay. Okay. So, Jordan, go do that. So I recalled just actually a few days ago that another incident when at this time an attorney on behalf of a client came to me and came specifically to me and wanted to make information available to the FBI in the form of electronic media that he wanted to get into. And Jordan says, different case or same case? And he goes, different case. Well, a completely different case, a different attorney, a different client, but insisted on meeting only with me or the director. And then he did not have the material with him at the time. He had to actually dispatch FBI agents to go to a field office to collect this material. Can you tell us the case? Baker. It was Larry. Can I give the name of the attorney? Absolutely. Okay. The name of the attorney was Larry Clayman, and he also brought one of his associates with him, whose name I don't recall at this point in time, and it was on behalf of a particular client. Anyway, that's what I recalled, and we were talking about that last time, and I did not remember that incident. Now I do. Okay, this is Jordan. Okay, thank you. Let's go back to McCabe. Well, no, this is another guy jumps in. With regard to Clayman, wait a minute. Coming to visit you, was it with regard to all this surveillance concerns that he had concerning the general fact pattern that we're here to discuss today? Baker, well, it had to do with surveillance. It had to do with an allegation about unlawful surveillance, but it was, I believe, it was different. Now we're talking different, parallel platform, different from any fact pattern that we talked about last time here. Breitenbach, unlawful surveillance of who? Baker, of Americans, including government officials. Yeah, I can go, wait, Jordan, wait, who was that client? Baker, I'm turning to the Bureau to describe this. So his client was an individual named Dennis Montgomery, who I believe, to the best of my recollection, he said he had been a U.S. government contractor. And the documents you saw confirm that, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
A government contractor, and in the course of that work had come across evidence of unlawful surveillance by the government of Americans, and including government officials, and wanted to give that information to the Bureau, which eventually did take place. Mr. Jordan. And was this, I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, Mr. Baker, to the best of my recollection, it was in the late summer, early fall of 2016. It was actually 2015. And the surveillance, what time period was that? Okay, Baker, I'm not entirely sure what the time frame was. It was significant. It was one of those issues in the case was it was a large amount of data that we had that he wanted to provide, that these discs or other media had a lot of data on them about this. Surveillance by who? Baker. By the government itself of Americans unlawfully. Now, Baker just testified that he sent a team down, ended up being in Florida, to get these discs and these hard drives that Dennis Montgomery discussed, that he presented at this. This is where he got the limited immunity, that he sent, and it involved a surveillance system of Americans illegally, right? So people are saying that this transaction of the hardware never occurred, even though we do have a list of hardware that was transferred, and it was actually filled out by the FBI because Dennis Montgomery had a stroke and he can't write for long periods of time, but he did sign these things. Now, some folks have claimed, well, there was no file number on it, so that means it was illegitimate. Well, it was done under video and under deposition. So if it was in fact false and he's putting this out there, wouldn't they hit him with a perjury charge?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you guys had stuff taken from you by the FBI and they filled stuff out, do they have file numbers on that?
I don't recall any, but
okay.
I don't either. So
then, was Baker lying for Dennis Montgomery here to say that he sent a team down there to get this stuff that Montgomery had? I mean, or do you think? Because I've been told, well, maybe he was correct in the first testimony. And the second testimony, he was lying. Why would he lie here? it seems like, tell me if I'm wrong on this, the first time when he said he didn't have any knowledge of any illegal surveillance, that when he came back the second time, he said, oh boy, I'm on the hook.
Record.
Because if I stick with that, I might go to the slammer. I got to let loose this other information. And this information about Montgomery is the legitimate stuff.
Yep.
Now, I sent you guys all these documentations, the state secret privilege, the security clearances, and I want to read what Kirk wrote and what Bill wrote. Are you okay with that to me early this morning?
Sure.
Or late last night? Dave, all the documents you sent testified to the effect that Dennis Montgomery was involved in developing surveillance methods for the U.S. government that the latter entity, the U.S. government, believed would pose grave danger to the national security if divulged. In reviewing them, I did not see anything questionable or that would indict what Dennis has said. Kirk.
Correct.
Kirk, do you still stand by that statement?
Absolutely.
And Bill, you responded. You called me over the phone and spoke,
Yep.
and you confirmed that you felt the documents were. And then you said, based on what Kirk said, I agree with Kirk.
Yep.
Do you still stand by that?
Yes.
So when people say that parallel platforms do not exist, are they right or wrong?
Well, they're wrong because they're living in dreamland. I mean, but you have to understand, a lot of people aren't. This information isn't shared widely by these agencies, so not too many people really know about it.
Right. That's correct.
But that's not the only agency doing parallel programs either. There are other ones also doing it.
There are a lot of parallel programs.
Yes,
Bill,
that's right.
Kirk.
Yep.
So Dennis Montgomery has become the lightning rod about parallel platforms. And I'm afraid after our conversation today, my friends Bill and Kirk are going to become lightning rods for parallel platforms because we've really focused on this.
You know, I basically when I was working in NSA, I had so many people who didn't know very much shooting at me. It's not funny. But the real problem, the real point is, and I had this other axiom there, which I probably shouldn't say, but I basically said it basically boiled down to never underestimate the power of large numbers of, fill in the blank people.
Yeah.
Uninformed, basically, as people.
So I've been chastised because I've said, look, I think it's very courageous for people to be speaking about the NSA surveillance programs, but that's information Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe brought forward 18 years ago. And they are also obviously very courageous because they were ground zero. But anyone even now bringing this forward is courageous. But this is where I get in trouble, guys.
Okay.
But I also think it's a disservice to our country.
Yes.
To not bring information forward or to deny about these parallel platforms. Because when you deny about these parallel platforms existing, what you do is you hide what some of these players, whether it's Obama or Brennan or Clapper or whomever, are doing on these platforms where there's no footprints. Am I a bad guy for thinking that and saying that?
No.
No.
It's called accountability.
Yep.
Under the Constitution.
Yep.
What haven't we covered that you believe we need to say?
The one point I was going to make, Dave, earlier is that we all stayed within proper channels according to Feinstein's definition of proper channels. That is, with the intelligence committees, Congress, and the inspector generals. We stayed there within that for the first 6 years after 9/11. So until they raided us. Then they attacked us using the DOJ, trying to keep us off balance, and threatened us with prosecution 3 separate times. And the third time, I finally had assembled all the information on malicious prosecution on their part, and I threatened them. I said, okay, let's go to court, because our lawyer told us they were going to indict us. I said, let's go. We're going to countercharge you and produce the evidence in court, so let's do it. And since then, Kirk and I got letters of immunity, so unsolicited by the way. I know our lawyer didn't have any understanding what happened because he thought we were going to be indicted. Then all of a sudden we get letters of immunity. I never told him what I did, threatening them. Okay, but that's the point. These people will do anything and do anything that in their power to silence people, or to, they'll put people in jail. For example, Mueller was in charge of the FBI when they had 4 people in jail for a murder that they used to cover. They left them there because they knew they were innocent, because they had the guy. They knew the guy who did it, but he was an informant for them on I guess organized crime. So they left those people in jail, and 2 of them died in jail. Now, what kind of people do that?
For 35 years, they left him in jail, guys, for 35 years.
Yeah,
and 2 of the guys died in jail, and only 2 made it out.
Yes, that's right. So we're really dealing with a lot of criminals here. That's really what we're doing.
Exactly.
Bill and Kirk, you've been incredibly generous with your time every day. You sacrifice a tremendous amount for our country, and you continue to. And I thank you for everything you have done, everything that you are doing, and everything that you will do, because I believe the 2 of you and what you did with your team hold the key for the future of our country. The information your team has developed really unlocks the door for the future of our country. And I just hope that the president takes that key and opens the door, because all of this smoke and mirrors and all this confusion and all of this goes away with that key that you're holding up and saying, well, will somebody just put this in the door?
Yeah, exactly right.
I thank you for your sacrifice in doing that, because it takes tremendous courage to not only hold the key and have the key, but to hold it up for everybody to see. And I thank both of you.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing, Dave, holding the key up, and we appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's very kind coming from both of you. That's the nicest thing I've heard in a very long time.
Well deserved.
Well, very few people will help us spread the word, and so they're trying to keep this out of sight, out of mind, so that the courts and the people and the public just don't know. That's what the mainstream media has been doing too, is to help them control the narrative to the public, and then they use them to manipulate them, like Russiagate. That's a manipulation of a bunch of lies from the beginning, and they knew it.
Remember, the only thing necessary for evil to succeed is for good people to do nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Well said. And we'll end with that, and I thank both of you. We close every segment, and these 2 people, Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe, are the epitome of it. My dad's favorite saying, dream big and dare to fail. Bill Binney and Kirk Wiebe are the epitome of that statement. Until next time, Dave Janda signing off. Thank you for your time today.